Hello. So the last game of group stage has now concluded for the first day. So we're going to have a short review. This time I'm not going over the games in too much detail, but we're focusing more on the draft to look how the meta evolve and which picks are now more prevalent and maybe how it changed in regards to the playing stage. So first game, opening game of Worlds, FlyQuest versus TS. So yeah, we see Echoban, Shenban against Solo and the Kate ban. Not sure about the Echo. Maybe it is the result of some scrims. Then yeah, Syndra pick for FlyQuest, so Knight isn't able to get her. Then we see Knight's Akali. As I said, Akali will now be more and more relevant because of the better players prioritizing her more and more than the playing teams. TS, on the other hand, was blinding some blind pick champions against Solo. So yeah, obviously they know about him being a weak link in FlyQuest roster. FlyQuest, on the other hand, bans some top lane carries against 369, trying to protect their weak side. Then the Volibear pick, yeah, with his early lane power, should be able to be fine in many cases. He's really good against melee champions. So yeah, this should theoretically be fine and set support, but we see no fasting center today. Game was not that spectacular. TS completely dominating global plays, like roaming around, TPing, and using their mobility of their champions to a great advantage. So expected result, but we have to say FlyQuest hold it out quite well. Yes, they were in no position to win at any point, but they were able to get 7 kills and a turret, and the game also went on for 31 minutes, so they weren't rolling over without any spirit in them. Still, as expected, TS starts very strong with a dominating win. Following that, we have UL versus Dragon X. A bit more of an exciting match, I'd say, because of the players and their versatility in terms of UL's big ban. So, Hacker, Syndra, Swain bans against Archik, Gadget, and Nomans. So it shows Dragon X is prepared. Kate, Lucian, Blue Side. I don't like that, right? These are really strong champions. And then the Silas ban against Chovy, I assume. A Renekton first pick. Yikes. Dragon X following up with Nidalee. Expected high priority pick, right? Remember my play-in recap video. The most present champion in pick 1. Ashe for Deft, even though the champion wasn't that great in play-in, right? 20% win rate on 10 games. Yeah, that was playing, and yeah, we see not everything is following that style. So then we see an Eve pick. It's against Nidalee and Ashe. It's fine. Additionally, we see a Jhin high spin rate 80 carry and does good against Ashe in lane. Also good combination with Eve. On the on pick, yeah, 90.9 win rate and good weak side top laner. Support bans against Gadget and bans against Chovy. Nothing too special here in the second ban phase. Orianna for Nomans and Alistar, both high win champions from the plains. Orianna also has 2 ball carriers. We see a set mid for Chovy. Not wanting to see that, right? We remember Griffin with tanks on Chovy last Worlds. Anyways, Pantheon support for carrier. Pantheon, a really contested pick in Korea, and many supports showed great plays on him, right, with his ult and the roaming. Additionally, the early game dominance of the lane. Yeah. So UL though has many threats in their team comp, has a strong lane game. Dragon X on the other hand, if we're just looking at it like as a normal draft, not regarding the players and the skill gap in individually, it is a Ashe carry team. Nothing else. Just like Nidalee's early game is there, Pantheon as well, but mainly it is Ashe focused. But this is not how the game went. Dragon X completely smurfing, carry and Pyoshing having all of the kills in the entire team. I think it was 1306 for Pyoshik, just dying while Nexus was exploding. Completely legendary. The Pantheon Nidalee combo roaming around, getting an additional setup with Ashe R or set plays. Always the point and click Son of Pantheon, followed up by the Spear of Nidalee. It bursts really strong, and it was completely devastating UL. So as expected, we see a dominating win from Dragon X. But the cool thing is here, we don't see it on Chovy or through Chovy. We see it through some of the weaker links. Everyone was not so confident about coming into Worlds, Carrier and Pyoshik. Then coming to the next game, we had Rogue versus PSG. So this is the first game for the whole of PSG with Tank and Unified, and yes, Tank, River, and Unified. We see some jungle bans and the Morderman against Hanabi. Lucian blind first pick. Yeah, it's a strong pick. It's a bit rash, right? He has some counter picks and some champions that he is not doing that well into. So I'm not too confident in this, but as he is a power pick at the moment, it's understandable. Sets up for a Eve pick in the jungle, by the way. PSG going for Graves and Renekton. Eve, as expected, good into Graves, although she's not as strong as him early. Can absolutely play with Lucian, as both are heavy damage threats from the respective type. Kalista for Hans Sama, one of his main champions in solo queue. Yeah, he actually goes Spirit Visage, a third item on him. Weren't able to see that in this one. Senna is able to survive against Kalista for PSG. It's actually not that bad. Her Glacial Augment auto attacks hurt her kiting, so it's actually a really strong pick in later team fights. But till then, not as much. More bans against Finn, so he can't get a blind pick available top laner. This corresponds with the earlier Renekton pick, so PSG is targeting Finn. Then we see some mid bans for Rogue, so that Lucian is like set up to get a good matchup. But Orianna is still open, which is one of the better mid lane mages against him. Then Malphite. Malphite and Rakan from Rogue. Malphite really good. Great against Renekton and the other two AD champions. Rakan and then the Nautilus for Kaiwing. Classic support picks complementing the rest of their team comps. Nothing too special here. Rogue with a mid-bot focus and some nice team fighters. PSG more skirmishes, but picked more for lane matchups, so more vacuum picks, right? Yeah, Rogue spot lane, getting 2 kills on tank in 3 minutes. Really creative roaming at level 1, and then dive at level 3. So pushing to bot wave, and then both Hansama and Vander roaming into the mid lane, diving the turret. Really nicely done from them. Setting up Lucian with huge XP and farm lead, as well as putting Orianna way behind the tempo. Sadly though, it overall showed that PSG is pretty autofilled at the moment. The most important duo, Uniboy and Kongyoe, were swept out for River and Tank. And yeah, sad to say they seem way worse individually. Also, their duo play wasn't that great. The team coordination also not refined. Uh, River and Kaiwing weren't doing all that well in roams either. PSG was just completely a complete mess. Really sad though. So yeah, I have to say PSG is way worse from what we saw um, than their performance in Plains. Rock on the other hand, we have to give it to them. They were completely strangling our PSG, cleanly dominating them, completely deathless, losing only a Drake and an early turret. And yeah, the turret was even traded for Baron. So yeah, overall clean performance from them. But yeah, then we came into one of the banger games today, Damwon versus JDG. We see yeah, on Renekton, Ben from top side, as well as Grace on blue side. A bit strange to see On and Grace on blue side banned, but anyway, Akali, Lucian, and Pantheon on the red side. This is a perfect bans, I'd say, because these are like the strongest champions in their respective position. Camille first pick for Nagari against Zoom. I think he just picks her for comfort, and like she's one of the strongest champions at the moment in the top lane. Ashe Lilia for JDG. Lilia a strong pick for Kanavi, able to dictate the flow on her. Strange though that Nidalee wasn't picked up. Not only because Nidalee is better than Lilia in my opinion, and more effective in the early game. Canyon is also 9-0 on Nidalee in this summer. Yes, then we see TF for Showmaker. So overall, TF with Camille and TF with Nidalee. Yes, Dawn's champions look very scary. Zoom gets the Volibear into Camille matchup. Yeah, normally it's good for Volibear. He is quite strong, but if the Camille player is really good, he can snowball this matchup after like one item or two. It depends on bit on the player's level. So we see ADC bans against Ghost. Yeah, he's the role player, and so maybe they want to get him on a non-comfortable champion. But yeah, I think it's okay. There wasn't anything else to ban, I assume. Then we see some support bans against Wilmao. Surprisingly, Yagao then elects for Jace mid lane. Haven't seen that in a while. It's actually not that bad. We are 80 mid laner against the TF. Also in corresponds with Lilia. So not that bad. I think it's fine. Not that strong, but it's good. Then Jin Leona, strong engage, some AD, good bot lane, high win rate champions, more setup stunts for Nidalee, so really good bot lane pickup for Downone. And the Nautilus for JDG, also very good. Downone's champions are not that mobile, so yeah, able to pick them off maybe with an ult. Both like to skirmish and are strong in early to mid game. Downone has a bit more tools, I feel. Strong split pushing with TF and Camille. Also the potential for TF to TP on the Camille 1v1 against Volibear. And then some poking while the split push is enabled. JDG has some team fights, but it's not actually that amazing. And a bit of pick, so they also have a bit of something, but it's not that outstanding. Then for the game, Canyon was out jungling Kanavi completely, barrel out roaming Little Mao, even though Little Mao had some pressure. Yeah, it was a complete Great Canyon div, as the casters was calling it. There were global leads for JDG in CS, but like especially in mid lane because Showmaker was roaming. But yeah, after the pressure Canyon was able to exert in the early minutes, even these CS leads were swinging in Down1's favor. JDG was looking for picks here and there, and even able to get some, but that yeah, Down1 was often playing nicely around their cooldowns and HP bars. So JDG was often getting a pick, but Down1 was getting like 5 kills in response. So yeah. Additionally, I have to mention, in some of these games, comebacks will be very rare. First of all, the teams are very good at the moment, especially these top tier teams, right? Down1 JDG, for example. Um, so when they will have a lead, they are going to snowball it correctly. Additionally, with the drafting, focusing on early to mid game champions, if a team loses early, their champions will not scale. In some cases, they will anti-scale. So there's no comeback mechanic in many cases. As such, with the huge lead Down1 was able to get, this game was more or less over after 10 minutes. But still, you have to finish the game, so yeah. Down1 great performance of all members, Canyon setting up the lanes as I mentioned, Showmaker and Beryl roaming with their champions into the different lanes, pushing up Nagaris and Ghost. And then the later two were able to deal massive amounts of damage in skirmishes and teamfights. So overall, a really good performance. A 24-minute storm for Dongwon actually, and a nice information here coming into Worlds. Damwon was actually the fastest game in the world. So yeah, what was that again about Koreans playing smart, playing long games? Even Dragon X is, I think it was the fifth fastest team. So yeah, Korea has developed this new style of play and is excelling at it. A stomp from Down1 against JDG is actually really massive. Yes, it's just first day, it's just one game, but JDG and Down1 are both top contenders for the title. Many analysts say so as well. So yeah, to see Down1 such a great performance, yeah, amazing. Coming into the next game, it's also a really highlight game, Genji vs LGG, and this, yeah, going over the ban first, big ban first. On ban, understandable. Graves against Peanut, TF against Shia, good target bans. Also Kalista against Ruler, then the Nidalee and Lilia ban, understandable. Lucian again, first picked. Renekton, yikes. Syndra, a strong pick. Not that great into Lucian. Yes, he's good, able to counterplay her, but also a strong pick in all stages of the game at the moment. Gragas Ashe, a bit strange. Gragas is not that high priority at the moment, so maybe it is a support flex. It is not, but maybe. Then we see Kindred for Peanut, good champ, and he's really good at against her. But the question is, why are you counterpicking yourself? Kindred into Gragas? It's it's a bit of a question mark here. Then we see Jin Ezrealman against Kramer. Understandable. Also, these champions are good into Ashe. We see an Eve ban. As Lucian does well with her. It's understandable. Zoe also a band again, good against Kindred and decent against Syndra. And also, a great champion from BDD. We see Voli in top for Renekton, a counter Rascal played 2 times already against T1 and was doing quite good if you remember. Set support for life, good champion against Leona, good versus Kindred, and also a champion life is known for. Lastly, Senna, a safe scaling pick for the bot lane. Yeah, rounding up the draft. Genji a bit much AD in their team comp, same for LGD, but the AP champion Syndra versus Gragas, I would say that's in favor of Sheer in terms of threat and item power. Both teams have good skirmishes, LGD has more scaling, while Genji has better individual lanes. Yeah, for the game, it was a bit of a back and forth, the closest game by far at this moment. Every time LGD was doing anything though, Genji was answering it in the side lane, and the 4 vs 5 fights were actually about even in many cases. So gold-wise, Genji was winning globally in the early game and beginning of the mid game. But then, having some back and forth team fights, objective trades, so on, it became a very long game in corresponds to the other games we saw so far. Both sides had their moments, some pop-off stuns and outplays here and there, but then later it became more and more one-sided. Even though Craven and Peanut managed to do some clutch plays, overall LGD was making too many mistakes in positioning, Genji punishing that, and then in the last team fight were able to push for the win. A really close game. I'm excited for their rematch. It was actually an expected game. Both teams are not that fast, even though the other teams of their region are. Performance individually had some hiccups here and there. Many mistakes were done, but also many cool and great plays were done as well. So we can't say too much bad things about this. Yeah, we have to wait for the rematch and also the performance of these teams against the other 2 teams in their group. Then for the last game of the group, we have Fnatic versus TSM. We begin with Thresh and safe top lane bans, then TF Caitlyn strong picks, and the Renekton. Starting with a Nidalee first, understandable strong pick, following with Lucian and Hilly's Rakan, a strong priority pick for him. Camille and Syndra, comfort picks for TSM, and Camille is a good pick against Rakan, right? If Rakan goes into the backline, Camille can ult him and he can't E out. So yeah, able to punish him quite effectively. Eve, then for Selfmade, understandable, good with Lucian, right? And also it's like his pick. He's played many games of her and is one of the few people who introduced her into the pro play meta at the beginning of this year, I think. Then sub-bans, which are good against Rakan. So he's not countered too hard. Twitch and Ornn, both good against Syndra and quite strong in general. Then we see a volley into Camille for Bwipo, and then following that a Senna Alistar for TSM, super safe bot, and some scaling team fighting here. Lastly, a Jhin for Reckless. Jhin, highest win rate champion out of planes, also works well together with Eve. Yes, so TSM versatile comp with some team fighters, some split pushing, but nothing super strong. The mid lane is quite good, and their mid game, they will spike there and can look for team fights there. Later they have some split push potential, right? Fnatic, on the other hand, more focused on mid game skirmishes and picks. So both teams want to do similar things, and the one who will snowball will be quite comfortable with that. The early mid game was actually going so and so, not great leads for any team, just Fnatic being like 1k ahead through CS and some pressure and out farming. Nothing too spectacular, but then they were able to get some smart micro rotations. For example, like they were able to sneak a Baron, and with just Hylissang dying for it, that's quite good, enabling them to push more into TSM side of the map, getting more pressure and turrets. For the Evelynn, right, she likes an open map with less turrets. Evelynn was actually able to use this pressure, getting some picks here and there, one-shotting some fools. the game was then heavily in Fnatic's favor. They had much pressure. And then, yeah, lastly at the end, they were getting a good fight in mid lane, going for Baron then afterwards. TSM quite desperate, looking for a steal. But then they were picked off and aced. Yeah, that was the end of the game. Going over the standings afterwards now. We have seen 3 groups play. Group B, Down1 and Rogue in first, JDG and PSG in third. Group C, Genji and Fnatic in first, LGD, TSM in third. Group D, TS and Dragon X in first, FlyQuest, UL in third. Nothing much happened, right? Everyone was just playing one game. We have to see how this develops, but for the winning teams, it's a good start. And the losing teams, yeah, they have to watch out. They're not following up with another loss. Yeah, that concludes the short recap of the first day. Nothing too unexpected happened. We had some good games, and every team seems to be performing to a level expected. Yeah, then see you around tomorrow with the next day of groups. Yeah, bye.